Welcome back. You here with Goldberg. Today I'll be talking about travel, whether it's another form of cope. Yeah, many guys are just trolling when they say that, but there is a preponderance of young men with limited experience and a lacking perspective who will use it ad nauseum as a retort. So if you're not spending every waking hour of your day pursuing, trying to attain, or keep a female, it's cope. But it's still cope regardless because you're never going to be Chad and you're never going to get that over the top desire from the female. The other variety is the conservative version. So if you don't have a trad wife and kids, it's also a massive cope. And that's where you want to ask these people, hold up, wait a minute. What is your life presently entailing? Have you achieved these things? Are you on your way to it? Or is it just one of those, the grass is greener, I wish I could have that type dynamics? Because especially the older you get, much of this stuff begins to fade in relevance, or at least it takes a lesser priority as far as what's going to make you happy as a human being. You might hear them say something like, oh, traveling's a cope, you're just trying to run away from your life, which might be perfectly legitimate because life can be very boring and mundane. You go to work, you do your commute, you mow the lawn, you take the dog out, maybe you go to the gym, you try to eat some halfway decent food, you have your hobbies, you do a road trip once in a while. But the lines between the days, they tend to be quite blurry, which is why it's crucial to keep a journal so you can remember stuff. A lot of folks have short-term memory when it comes to the duration of their life. And travel is beneficial in my view because it can allow you to get those larger memories that will stick because you saw something that was really striking or you had an experience, you met a person. That's why I believe it really pays dividends. And so let's delve in a little bit more. Many guys here traveling, they're thinking of this. Some chick on Instagram, 25 countries and counting, wanderlust. And yeah, the girls who take a ton of pictures because they want to feel that they are better than others. But understand, females are part of a bored collective. I've told you so many times. You cannot expect much better from them. And if you try to live your entire life with this aversion to anything they might have sullied, you're going to miss out. So don't restrict yourself too much just because of clown world and don't get into this perpetual bunkerization collapsitarian mindset because whether those things occur or not, there's still much that you can take in. It's not all the mass marketed, commercialization, just fly over an ocean and sit at a resort drinking a Mai Tai in the pool. There is more to it if you are willing to take the time to find out. For myself, I'm just a fan of what you can see primarily. I love historical structures, especially those that inspire, as opposed to the soy derivative blocks that we come across in the present day, where everything's just vinyl. They all look almost exactly alike. There seems to be no design. Sure, many of these structures that are now artifacts, they were built with slave labor, but that's one of the things you do with slave labor. I hate to say it. Whereas we just have these wage slaves that go around and they hate their existence. There's also the aspect to the nature that you might come across, stuff that's there, God's creation, if you will. Um, and yeah, there's beautiful stuff in the United States. There's still spots I haven't hit up. I have not seen Colorado. I want to see Glacier National Park, Alaska. There's probably the Grand Canyon is another one, but also around the world. And I don't go to these spots because I want to take a ton of pictures. I might take a handful when I'm traveling if there's a very good opportunity. Okay, this could be a profile, a shot somewhere. I don't see it. I need to make sure that I'm going to fill this digital photo album because it isn't the same it used to be. When you had the actual physical albums and maybe someone came over and they could flip through it, it was a little bit more endearing. Most people are not looking at your Facebook or Instagram album scrolling through unless they're trying to, find that picture of the chick in the bikini because it's a stalker or whatever. So that isn't going to happen. Another element, I love forts, I love castles. When I was last year traveling, there was this one, it was actually inside some kind of castle, but they had all these suits of armor that just looked amazing. I'm big into the medieval period. If I ever get the opportunity to get a real one or a decent replica, suit of armor. I'm going to have it lit up in the window at night in my house. I think that'd be kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, what's wrong with that? Why is that all cope? Because you're not focused on a female? I think that's a lot more interesting. And the older you get, too, if you try to attach all of your value and worth to a woman, it's going to make you unhappy because women will always let you down. This is just something to understand, especially if you're young. I get it's difficult if you don't have experience with it, but just realize you can still enjoy this stuff in your 20s. You don't have to limit yourself to saying the red pill life and keep hustling, bro, is all you need to do. You can travel in your 20s if you have some means or resources. Well, I'll go back to that in just a second because, yes, I understand some stuff can be cost prohibitive. Of course, there is the social and geomaxing aspect to it. Now, me personally, I've never gone overseas specifically to smash. And for some guys, that might be a perfect investment of time and money. For me, unless I've been to the country at least once beforehand, I want to soak it up as much as possible because there's limited time. So now, if you can dollop that on top, it's fantastic. And one benefit is that providing it's not totally over for you, you can still go out on a date and have a normal experience being yourself, and it might still end up in the direction you want. Whereas in the US, you have no clue, but it's probably not going to. I mean, just recent last week, I had this chick quite pretty, and we're at the point where we're kind of okay, this is going somewhere, and she's all, I miss you, I need to see you again. Then within 24 hours, she just totally spurgs out and just demolishes the whole thing. And I was going, WTF, like literally nothing happened. But that's the whole point. Nothing happens. You know, you at one point, like when I was younger, I thought it was always my fault. I didn't use the right game. I probably shouldn't have said that. I should have done this. And then I realized, women will say it's not you, it's me. There's a hidden truth to that in the sense that when it comes to at least the worst aspects of their personality, you will never have control over it. You will never be able to, truly manipulate it one way or the other. It's always going to come down to some degree of chance. And so especially as you advance in age, you just kind of, it doesn't phase you anymore. You're like, whatever, if it happens, it happens. But the nice thing about overseas is that there's a little bit more of that old world mentality, so there's a better chance of it functioning. And I'm not saying, by the way, get married, because that's still, it doesn't matter where you are, that's still rife with a bunch of problems, but you can have that, you can get a sense of it still. You can get a flavor, if only for a short period of time. And so I don't see that as a bad thing, assuming it's not just spending thousands of dollars to go overseas just to get some validation from a woman, which would be kind of silly. But going back to this, let's say you're a young man, you're, well, I don't have money, I can't go overseas. Assuming you even have some neat bucks or you've done some wage slaving, you have a vehicle, take a road trip. I mean, the US has a lot of cool stuff you can see. Very few folks are in a position where a 4 to 6 hour drive would not take them to experience something that's pretty cool. And, that's something that is worthwhile because it gets you out of your comfort zone. It seems cliche. A lot of these dudes, though, they're going to be internet coping, yeah, I told you, throughout the 20s. And it's a waste of time. Even if you don't have a girlfriend, even if you think it's over for you romantically, don't write off every single thing because it doesn't involve that. There's still a lot of rewarding experiences that you can come across, but sometimes you have to have a little bit of courage. You have to be able to say, okay, I'm not just going to be a mama's boy. I'm not going to be totally reliant on, staying at home and having the microwave dinners. You might have to put a little bit more effort into it. And that's a good thing. Because if nothing else, you generate rich memories outside of just the mundane, boring, I go to work, I clock in, I come home, I'm tired, I play video games, or I go to the gym, whatever. So, yeah, let me know what you think. I definitely don't think that travel's a cope. There's ways to do it that I think is wasteful and frankly, probably not worthwhile. But for people that have the right approach, it's going to be, well, it's going to be a solid investment of their time.